Welcome to the Press Start Podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Shannon.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about Shannon's PlayStation 5 Pro impressions, James's reviews of Mario and Luigi Brotherhood and Slitterhead, and Dragon Age the Veilguard topping Steam charts. But first, right as we published last week's episode, word came through that Sony was shuttering Firewalk Studios in the wake of Concord being pulled soon after launch. CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Herman Hollister, wrote in a statement, "I'm a big believer in the benefits embracing creative experimentation and developing new IP. However, growing through sustainable financials, especially in a challenging economic environment, is critical." Shannon, coming to you first, what was your reaction to this news?
I wouldn't say surprising, because I don't know if anyone that read it was necessarily surprised. But still, I guess I was. It's a big decision, right? Like it's big.
It's like shocking, but not surprising.
Yeah, you're right. That is the right word. I was shocked because, like, even though it was a possibility, like, it's still a huge call and lots of jobs lost. And it was well spoken about how much went into Concord and how much PlayStation did believe in it. So for them to make a call that quickly, like, I did think they would try and salvage it somehow, but then I can also, like, thinking about it logically, understand why they thought, no, actually, let's just call it a day and not do any more damage to our brand. It's in a pretty good spot. Yeah,
I guess we kind of like speculated, would Concord kind of come back, and I sort of felt like they were in so deep, and I kind of thought there was some contingency planning in place, like, hey, if this doesn't work, like, if we don't get the sort of amount of sales in such, like, the first 6 months or something, we can pivot to a free-to-play model, maybe refund the people that sort of paid for it up until then. I kind of thought there was a plan B in place, where it seems like that wasn't really the case, and that they didn't have, like, a few kind of quick levers to pull in order to kind of change the model. That was going to be more work and more investment in it that they just weren't prepared to do, I guess.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, it was never going to be salvageable. I don't think, no matter, you could probably pay people $30 and it wouldn't have taken off. And, like, I guess bringing it back in any capacity would have meant more resources being eaten up, because it is a live service game. So yeah, you can understand, like, it is insane. And I feel for all of those people that put 5, 6, 7 years into their life to have this result, but it was never going to be turned around, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think, like, particularly disappointing as well, like, given the kind of obvious talent that was at the studio. Like, yes, it didn't all come together in the way that they hoped it did, but I think when it came to, like, the design of the game, the combat mechanics, all of that, like, it felt and played great, and it was, like, really well balanced out of the get-go, and
yeah,
like, some obvious kind of technical skills there that just I hope they kind of go on and find something else.
Just wrong timing for this game in all the aspects. Like, it was just hated on. It was never going to succeed, no matter how good it was. So you do feel for them. It's brutal.
Yeah. Also caught up in this as well, we should acknowledge that Neon Koi was also shuttered as well, which was part of PlayStation Studios' mobile division. What about yourself, James? Like, what was your reaction to this news, and what do you think it reveals about PlayStation's strategy here on out?
I didn't really think that they would completely drop it, to be honest. I thought they would maybe make it free to play and then see how things went from there. But I guess they crunched the numbers and decided that wasn't worth it, right? But yeah, like, I think it does suck, because I didn't hate what I played. I did just think, like, how is this going to take me away from... For me in particular, like, obviously, but other people, like, who already play Apex, Fortnite, etc. Like, how's it going to take people away from that? So yeah, I do think, like, the vitriol probably didn't help it much. Like, people loved the pylon for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, Dragon Age has a pylon too, and we'll talk about that later. Like, I think that might not be all of it. Obviously, I just think that when you really boil it down, like, I think a lot of people are tired of this kind of game, and then asking people to, I guess, I know that sounds like Povo to be, like, asking people to pay for it, but, like, I feel like you want a lot of people in, you know, to try it and actually see how it goes. But that's $60 price point. Was it on PlayStation Plus?
Well, no, I was going to say that even the beta that, like, originally was PlayStation Plus and they made it free to all, like, and it had nobody playing it. Like, that was the clearest sign that it probably just wasn't going to work out, and would never work out, I think.
I just think you can, like, entice people if there's no barrier, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, like, it's a gamble on a new IP, but in some sense, it's kind of a gamble for the player as well. Like, we only have so much time, and I know we're experiencing this all firsthand at the moment, all these games coming out that we're trying to find time in our day to sample. And that's very true for, like, every gamer out there, right? With the business of their own lives. So if it's an existing IP and you kind of know what to expect and it's a story that you've already got a connection with, like, I think there's kind of less of a barrier of entry and kind of a greater willingness to kind of jump in and dive and play it. But when it's a new IP, you don't really know what it's going to be like. You don't know the studio making it. And they're also asking you to fork up like $60 in this case. Like that might just factor into the equation, right? It's like, well, like I know what Overwatch 2 is going to be like, or I know what Marvel Rivals is going to be like because I know those characters, that I've got that connection to that IP. Like, maybe that's a factor in it too, which sucks to say because, like, I appreciate that in Herm Holst's statement, he sort of said, like, I'm a big believer in the benefits of, like, experimentation, developing new IP, that kind of thing. And I very much want to see that continue to be the case, but I can understand why people might be hesitant to dive into something that's a little new and untested.
Yeah, that is the thing that sucks, and that's what we've said so many times in this show, right? Like, everyone says, like, we want new IP, we don't want remakes, we don't want remasters, but like, this is a prime example of, and again, it is like the live service thing and like wrong place, wrong time, but yeah, it's just so much more of a risk to put AAA dollars into something that nobody has a connection with.
I think like when this was first revealed, though, the trailer looked okay, and then obviously it became clear that it was a live service game. So I think new IP is good too, for sure. But I do think the genre was really what killed it. Like,
yeah. And
100%.
In fairness, like it really borrowed a lot from other IPs as well. Like, everyone said how similar it was to Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it very heavily took inspiration from other things to the extent that you could knock it, I think, for like not really doing much new. So yeah, maybe it should have kind of gone totally off the wall and done something in a totally different
Should have been
direction.
Ape Escape. That would have been the safest bet they could have made. And, yeah.
Maybe Astrobot's just testing the waters there. Who knows? The last one on this, James, what do you think this might mean for Fair Games or even like Marathon, Bungie's upcoming game? Like, they're all part of this live service strategy of PlayStation's, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Marathon has a chance, right? Like, I feel like Destiny has that name behind it, and it's gone for however many years it's gone for. Fair Game, no.
The hard thing is now that like the gamers are going to run with this tenfold, right? So like anything we post is like, oh, Sony needs to make up money for. It's going to be compared to Concord, and like people are going to go into it with that, and that's going to be the narrative around any of these games, like that. And that is why they needed to just cut it, because the longer it went on, or if it came back and then didn't work.
Yeah, it's frustrating though, isn't it? Because like Helldivers was like such a good success. Like, they're kind of one for two at the moment, PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't know. But is Helldivers still doing that well? I think it's like the concurrent players is not very high anymore.
Yeah, I think I've seen some chatter that they're about
they
to
would have made
the
good
new...
money from that. I don't think
I'm
that
sure,
would be
absolutely. I'm sure it was front loaded. But money's money.
Yeah, I think like you guys have some faith that Marathon will be fine. Bungie have done a new IP before, obviously. Like, I think they're the brand power that is Bungie, like, helped propel Destiny to those sort of heights off the back of Halo. And I think, Marathon, obviously not a new IP, Bungie, an established sort of pedigree. I think that'll work in its favor. But yeah, Fair Games, I would be really worried about that.
Do we think we'll see an announcement that it's cancelled, or just like never hear about it again if it doesn't come out? Like, what do you think the angle will be there?
Who was making it?
It's Jade Raymond's game, isn't it?
Haven Interactive Studios. Yeah.
So weird. Like, and that's the thing. Like, all these she's a creative who has worked mainly on single player games. So it's like, why are we fucking pivoting to this now so randomly? Although I guess she did do like Sims Online. Mate, just bring that back. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what
maybe just need to stick to their strengths.
Maybe they'll just re-reveal it as like a single player game, like with a co-op element or something. Like, make it a solid game. Like, rather,
Just put Aloy
No,
in it. That seems to be the strategy for everything.
yeah,
at the moment.
just make it a Horizon
game.
spin-off. Yeah. Like pre-apocalypse. But yeah, I don't.
Maybe it could be an extraction shooter that's just exclusively PlayStation characters. It's like the Super Smash Bros. Or the PlayStation
PlayStation
All-Stars
All-Stars Battle Royale 2 needs to happen. I was thinking about that the other
but an
day.
extraction shooter.
Yeah, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. Sticking with PlayStation for the next topic. Shannon, you've had the PlayStation 5 Pro for a few days as of the time we're recording. What have been your impressions of it so far?
Yeah, so it's about a week-long period before reviews go up. It's a tricky one, and I remember it was tricky with the PS4 Pro because obviously in this early access period, like you're waiting for patches to go live, which has really happened in the last 24 hours. But I think really, really positive. The more time I spend with it and the more games that I test, I'm noticing a lot more games running at 4K 60 with a lot better quality and like really hard to tell between the quality and the performance modes, which is what we wanted. So Alan Wake 2 in particular, like that has your performance mode that runs at 4K 60, or you have your ray tracing mode at 30, which looks better as well. But yeah, I think it's a tricky one. It is expensive. I think if you're someone that games daily and like you feel that you've wanted to sort of have a mode that isn't the two that are there at the moment, like it does mesh the two together quite well, is my key takeaway for all of it. I think that's only going to get better with time, as we've seen with like DLSS. Like this is going to be a machine learning system that gets better with time. So it's promising.
You've curated a list of, I think it's all 80 plus enhanced games on the website. You can see that full published list on there if you're getting a PS5 Pro and curious about what's going to be improved, or you're still kind of on the fence. Which of the games have you kind of tested into so far? Like, were there any besides Alan Wake 2 that kind of jumped out particularly as being an improvement?
I think Spider-Man 2 was a big one. I played most things in quality mode, but like being able to swing through that city in 60 and like not have it be blurry or like the draw distances be good, like that was a big one that really stood out. I'm trying to think. F1, like I'm not a sim racing guy at all, but there's ray tracing in that as well now at 60, and like you could clearly see like racing Albert Park in the rain and the puddles and everything reflective. It feels more like a PC experience. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, again, I purely really only played things from like a graphically testing situation, but that has a new mode called, I think, Versatile mode that is, again, 4K 60, and it looks better than the performance mode of the past. So, yeah, that's kind of it. And then, obviously, like The Last of Us Part 2. The hard thing with PlayStation's first-party games is, like, they've always looked pretty fantastic and ran fairly decent, and, like, the 40 FPS mode. So, like, in my opinion, they're the ones that you see least of an improvement on. They look better and they run well, but yeah, I'm not like blown away looking at them. But it's like your Dragon Ages, like any third-party game that has had that kind of weird blur filter over it, like you do notice the resolution picked up quite significantly.
Yeah, I'm particularly curious to see what the like Star Wars Jedi Survivor or Outlaws looks like.
Outlaws,
those are two games I remember being really muddy in like a performance
Outlaws
mode.
is in like, and again, I've probably got like 6 or 7 games that PlayStation's really outlined in terms of these are the differences. For the other 50 plus, like you're kind of just guessing at this point. But Outlaws is interesting because it had 3 modes on standard PS5, but on this it only has 1 mode, which I'm guessing is like 4K 60. And it did look clearer, and it was obviously running at 60. So that was an exciting one because that was one of those ones that when you played, like it was kind of, you were choosing between a muddy filter or 30. It's hard because if you put both in front of someone, they're probably not going to be like, wow, that looks really next gen. But like anyone that has played a PS5 game, like, and has had to pick between the two, knows that it is, you're losing out no matter which mode you choose. And this does feel, again, like it's just more consistent and a more expected experience that we had going into this gen. But it's not leaps and bounds crazily different. So
what about the rest of the package? Like, what do you make of the design of the console itself, like its size in comparison to the others too? Was there kind of much of a difference in your mind, like getting it in person versus the images we've seen so far?
Yeah, I feel like nothing will ever compare to the fat PS5 and pulling that out of the box and the behemoth that was. Like even, doing these comparisons, like you really forget how big of a console that is until you've like got it in your hands. But this kind of blends the two designs almost perfectly. Like it is the same height as the original PS5, but it's the same thickness as the Slim. I like it. I think that the racing strips like breaks up the faceplates better than the Slim does with the single strip. I don't have an issue with it. I quite like it. It's great on me. It does look a bit weird without the disc drive. I must admit that's just because I'm used to looking at a PlayStation with a disc drive. But I think as far as hardware goes, like it's quiet, it's cool, which I guess that's something that a lot of people have been asking about. Like it feels fine to me.
Nice, cool. And the faceplates aren't compatible. That was like in the news this week as well. Is that much of a knock in your mind that you can't use the faceplates you've otherwise acquired, or you're not all that fussy?
I mean, I like my console being black, and like you can put the bottom ones on, so I did do that to see what it looked like, and it does look
two-tone. Interesting.
Quite nice. There does seem to be a legitimate reason for it. Like the thermal design and the way that it pushes air out is quite different. So I don't feel like it's Sony just being annoying for the sake of it. Which it's fine with me. It is annoying, and it will be annoying for a lot of people. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, I feel like 90% of people just put their PlayStation in a cupboard and don't really look at it. Yeah. Right. But I also understand it also doesn't fit in my entertainment unit with faceplates. So realistically, they're probably going to come off. I'm back to that issue again, sadly.
Oh, no.
Look, it's very odd considering the disc drive and everything else, the stand that they've released for the Slim. Like, they were very clearly designed in tandem. So I am still a little bit surprised by it, just even from them having to now manufacture like 3 sets of faceplates. But you would have to imagine that if they could have made them the same, they would have done that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you would assume so. I don't think it benefits them to like have all of these different SKUs to cater for and releasing like different faceplates. I don't know. Can you even buy like new faceplates for the first generation model? I don't think you can, right?
I don't think they're releasing it, and there's none for this that they've announced either. I guess that is the annoying thing. Like, you can't even buy the new ones. So like, if there were black ones day one, I feel like people would probably care less. But now we have to wait for this drip feed, which is it's weird. But PlayStation is weird.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to make it customizable at all. So the fact that we have like some element of customization, and to be honest, I got my black faceplates for my PlayStation. I don't need to replace those. Those are the only color I wanted. James, has any of Shannon's thoughts on the PS5 Pro tempted you at all? I don't think you've got a pre-order down for one of them, do you?
Yeah, I have got it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Big PlayStation fan, Jamesy B.
No, it's going to be my Death Stranding machine at this point. Yeah. Like, obviously, I use my PlayStation for exclusives and stuff, so... And there's at least one coming in the next year, so I'm excited to play it. I already, I see both sides of why people love or hate this idea. But... I don't know, like the stuff Shannon showed me from Alan Wake, like I get it, 100%. So, yeah.
Will, I have been wondering, because I feel like this is probably the first time since like 360 PS3 early days where PS3 was struggling to run stuff. Like, if it does get shown, which I'm assuming is going to be the case, that games run a lot better on PS5, like how will that play into your mind, James? I know you are quite an achievement hunter, so it probably won't change you, but... Is it going to make you like conflicted, or like is it going to sit in the back of your mind when you play something?
No, it won't sit in the back of my mind. I don't think.
The front of your mind.
No, it won't be.
Particularly for you, because you're going to have the console, right? So like,
yeah. No, I know. I don't know. I guess if it was like really bad, like a Cyberpunk situation where like a game doesn't run on base, but will run on the Pro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Yeah. Because I prefer Xbox for a lot of reasons. So, like, that it's not just the performance. And I'm also, like, you know, the visuals was, like, the only negative I had for Dragon Age, but it didn't affect my my opinion on it at all.
Maybe it would have been an 11.
Like, Slitterhead, which we'll talk about in the future. Also not the best looking game. Like, I don't play games for graphics. Like, I've never been that person. So I I played the entirety of the 80 hours of Dragon Age at 30 frames. Like, I don't care. You know?
We'll see. We'll come back.
The first... okay. Yeah. Well, I can see the snarky faces on both of you. So,
I'm not snarky
if it was
at
the
all.
reverse, I wouldn't move away from
I
PlayStation.
recognize, like, I don't know. When I played The Last of Us, I played that the first time when they released it originally, and that was 30 frames both times. Like, and I thought those games were still good looking regardless, you know? Like, I wasn't like, oh,
yeah,
why isn't it 60?
Like I could be playing more games on PC than I do. Like, it's a little out of touch with the latest hardware now. Like, I got a 3080 in there, but it's still perfectly like capable of playing games better than my PS5 can. It's like I could do that if I wanted to, but like sometimes it's just more comfortable to sit on the sofa and play on my PS5. So it's kind of like a mood thing, I guess, than purely like a graphics thing.
I will say this is the closest I've felt, like, in terms of playing a PC, like, on my TV, in terms of how things run.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be interesting.
Very cool. Well, let's talk about Slitterhead now, James. It's one of two of your reviews we're going to get to today. But it's a new horror title from the director of the original Silent Hill and the Gravity Rush games, so one very much up your street. I know it's one you were looking forward to, but how did you find it?
It's up my alley, first of all.
Up your alley.
Yeah. I really liked this game. I think that it's definitely not going to be for everyone, which the review scores definitely illustrate. It's a very, very widespread. But I don't know. It's just my shit. Like, it's weird. Like, it's got a strange story, a weird vibe. It's kind of Povo, but like, it's also really, really fun.
I think rough around the edges was how the director described it, right?
Did he actually say that about his own game? Because
I think it was like, but in like an endearing way. Like,
yeah,
I think it was in relation to Silent Hill. Like Silent Hill, it's a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, so when I think of all his games, like Gravity Rush is probably his most polished. Like, that runs the best. So this runs really well. Like, in terms of performance, it just feels a bit janky. But I'm played it on Nightmare. Which is like the very hard mode, and if the combat was really bad, I feel like I wouldn't be able to get through it, but I have, like, and that's a really good indicator. Do you know what I mean? Like, normally, like, if a game has shit combat and like dodges don't work properly or parries don't work, it's just a disaster. But it's not like that. It just plays really solidly. It does repeat itself a lot, so you do play through a lot of missions multiple times, but there's a very, very good story reason for that. So, and if anyone knows, like, Siren or maybe kind of Silent Hill, like, Toyama does love his time loops. So there's like it feels very, very like much like a distillation of all his previous games. But the general, like, I guess I haven't actually spoken about the game. You basically play as a spirit, and it's very, in the opening moments, since you get to possess different bodies to kind of cover a large distance, because the rules are the spirit can't move by itself. It has to be inside a body, basically, to move. So you've got to get into a body, and then you can move around that body as freely as you can. But you might get to, like, say, I don't know, a gate that a body can't get through. So you can possess another body that's through the gate to make progress, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember the trailer kind of like, because as you're moving to different bodies, the camera kind of like follows the spirit jumping to them, right?
Yeah. And you can do, like, you know, you can like get a body to jump off a building to get height, and then leave that body behind as it falls to the ground. You know, like, you kill a lot of...
Okay.
Yeah, you kill, like, a lot of people.
Do you have to be in a body? Like, are you...
Yeah, you can't be outside for too long.
Okay.
It's kind of like Space Station Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's what.
But with
vibe.
like bodies.
I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of the Swapper a little bit, as well, and like
a little bit.
Clone yourself and make
not as clever. Like, there's no puzzles in the same vein as the Swapper. But yeah, so that's the idea. Is like you can only die if your body dies while you're in it. So if something's about to attack you, you can quickly jump to another person while you watch that person die, and then you're fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're kind of always jumping from body to body during combat. And the other thing is when you're in combat, you have you use that person's blood as weapons. So you basically just, like, drain them of blood and quickly move to another one.
Christ.
And the like characters themselves in the story are there's like 7 of them, and they are called rarities, and they're people who have like better sync with the spirit, so they have different weapons, so they perform a little bit better in combat. They have different abilities and all of that jazz. So you take 2 rarities into every mission, and then you just use the rest of the population as you need to in battle or for traversal and stuff. Really,
So-
like it's go.
Is it open? Like it's open world kind of? Or
So it's open level.
okay.
And I think this is a lot of where a lot of people kind of didn't like it as much as it is set in one city. So it's based on like the real city, like Kowloon, like the walled city. And so it looks like a mix of like Hong Kong and well, I guess it's really just Hong Kong. But
It looks
So-
kind of neon.
it's very like neon-y.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
very, very, very pretty too. Like a full 60 frames, like no drops. Very good looking game. The people don't look as good, but the worlds look really good. But yeah, to get back to what I was saying, the worlds are you might play like a different mission in the same map. So it's like an open level design. And my main complaint for this game was there was no map. So if I want to just go and explore a little bit, I can't.
Yeah.
So that was a bit weird, and it's like a weird omission. But you would argue it's not open world either, so I guess it doesn't really matter maybe. But it feels it is a really good game. Like it's definitely greater than the sum of its parts. Like everything individually, if you were to look at it, you're like, this isn't that great. But putting it all together with this really weird story, jumping between all these different bodies, conjuring a Gatling gun out of someone's blood, like it's just like really, really batshit, but really fun. I really, really liked it. It was one of my favorite biggest surprises because the trailers look so shit. I feel like
I'm just surprised it came out like when it did. I feel like it was
it was really quiet, and then like it's
it was
yeah, like,
quite literally.
yeah. I don't think it's actually out yet, but I think
No,
it's
it's not. I think
tonight,
it's out in a couple
tomorrow.
of days. Yeah.
Yeah. But so there's still time. Who knows? Delays. But yeah.
Is it scary? It doesn't strike me as sounding.
So it's like an action horror game, I would
Right,
say.
okay.
It's more like if you get grossed out by insects, kind of like Siren. You know how things would walk around with like maggot heads and stuff. Like it's very Siren-y in terms of the creature design and the monsters.
Right.
But it's definitely more of a action horror than a horror. So I wouldn't say it's scary. There's also, to be clear, it's like the budget is quite low. Like there's no voice acting. There's just like people talking. There is some voice acting in some of the cutscenes, but there's just people talking usually with like a noise, like or like, do you know what I mean? Like just to give the tone. So,
But
yeah.
Just again, we were talking about sort of new IP, and like this is obviously a really cool example of someone who was at Sony and now doing their own thing. Like it sounds like this is kind of it's not a 10, but it's kind of like best case scenario in terms of what it is.
It's like
and
the
what he's
best,
done.
the best 8 ever. Real, like, yeah. or a 3 if you're IGN, I think. But
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the the breadth of the scores, and yeah, it really is all over the place.
I totally get it, but you just have to kind of get it, if that makes sense. I'm not saying people don't get it, but it definitely is a vibe for certain people, and that person happens to be me.
It's your kind
It
of
just
game,
reminds
right?
me
Yeah.
so much of those games that Japan Studio used to put out on PS2, PS3.
Yeah.
So
Something
and
kind
that's-
of like Gravity Rush-esque, you mean? Like,
even Gravity Rush to me is still a step above this in terms of just like production values and stuff. But this is like just under that. I feel like definitely feels more better produced than say. Oh, actually no, just under Siren as well. Like Siren is really good.
right.
But yeah,
Siren had a jankiness to it.
100%. Like Siren was like a very like rough game in terms
Yeah.
of how the combat and stuff worked. But that kind of
It kind of
encouraged
played
you
into it.
to not
Yeah.
do that, to not go into combat. But yeah.
Well, once
I,
again, you've piqued my curiosity, James. Like this was
It's
a game based
I
on
don't
the
know.
trailers already. I was interested in, and obviously given the kind of pedigree of the people attached to it as well. But yeah, like flicking through your review, like seeing some of it in motion too, it sounds quite interesting.
it's not for everyone, but I think it was really for me. So,
I don't mind things getting a little bit
That's
weird.
the main thing.
I noted as well there was a creature inspired by a blue-ringed octopus as well. Is that right?
There is. There's
That's
lots
wild.
of.
Are they?
so
do they
weird.
have like glowing blue rings?
Yep. And it like really pops with like all of this game, actually, the colors pop with the HDR and stuff, and the blue rings especially.
Yeah.
If that's what you want. If you're looking for a game with the blue ring octopus in it,
They're
here you
they're
go.
pretty scary things. I like
yeah,
it.
they're scary when they're tiny, but now they're massive.
Well, changing tones totally, I want to touch on the other review that you published this week, and that was for a Mario and Luigi game, the first in over a decade, Mario and Luigi Brothership, this one's called. Another you reviewed, James. What were your thoughts on that one?
I also liked it. I just think it is very poorly paced. So with this one, it's hard because
You like took in a... With this one,
no, because
there was like a breath
no,
of preparation.
because I was like, it was so hard to play it. Like, and I don't. I'm trying to be. I liked it. I want to be clear. I really liked it. But if I didn't have to review this, I would have dropped it. I think at the beginning. Because it's just one of those
Such a
games
tricky
where.
spot.
Yeah, and every RPG obviously has its slower moments. Like, I even felt like I said that about Dragon Age. It does take a bit to get going. But this is just something else. Like, somebody is always stopping to talk to you about something. It's like, oh, let's go to, I don't know, Lot of Coins Island. And then you get there, and then someone runs up to you and is like, hey, we're at Lot of Coins Island. And it's just like this constant, like...
It's like, yeah, I know, there's a sign right there.
Just let me fucking go. Like, I just spent 5 minutes traveling there, so like, why can't we just go and do whatever we're gonna do? Sorry, my hair's going a bit like all over the place, but I just
You're
genuinely,
agitated. I love it.
yeah, it was just frustrating. But then halfway through, it like flips the script quite significantly,
Okay.
and just goes somewhere really like dark, and I think the story is very good, but I can't. I don't know. I think I said in my review, like, stick with it because it does get way better. I just think it takes too long to get there. So yeah, and I totally see, like, I think IGN is getting a lot of shit because they gave it a 5, but I can see why that would frustrate people. Because it is very stop-start. Like, you feel like you're just about to get going every time and it would stop you with more. So yeah, good game overall. Like, I gave it a 7.5, which I think is still good. It just takes a lot to get going.
Yeah.
And
I feel like this is constantly like becoming a trend in games, or like something I've noticed.
To be-
We've spoken a lot about it with like open world RPGs. I guess this is a different situation, but
to be fair, this is like an RPG, and that is quite common. Like, they do have to set a lot of shit up. But as an example, Metaphor isn't like that. I'm trying to think. Even Final Fantasy wasn't like that early this year. Like, this is just, it's really tough. Even
I also feel like no Mario and Luigi game has been like that from memory. Like, they are pretty, like, every Mario RPG like has a bit of stop-start, but like for the most part, I can't remember one taking like 10 hours to get going properly.
I think the last two were pretty similar. The first three, not so much.
Yeah, I don't know if I played the last one or two, but yeah, the earlier ones I loved.
Even so, Ewan, like, Nintendo's put out so many RPGs in the last 12 months, Mario one specifically. I didn't feel that way, like, with Mario RPG or Paper Mario. Like, those games really kind of got me in from the beginning. So I don't know if that's because they're remakes, or I didn't really have nostalgia for either of those. So at the same time, I think the pacing is just off with this one. So
yeah.
But
The reason I brought
still-
it up is like, it's something I'm self-conscious of. Like, am my tastes changing? Like, do I just kind of demand that a game like get started a bit quicker? Am I just not patient enough?
Yeah.
Is it like a Zoomer
could be.
tendency? It's like TikTok level induced brain rot. Like, is it that kind of thing? But yeah, I kind of reassured to hear that other people feel the same way.
Yeah, I'm not somebody who picks up my phone when I'm playing a game. Much to the dismay of others in the chat. Like, if I'm locked into a game, like, I'm locked in, right? But this, I just kept reaching for my phone for this game, and I was like, I don't know, like, it was so
Just getting a
frustrating
bit
because
bored.
but then as soon as it hit that point, like, I was like, fuck, this is actually quite good. But I was like almost a bit more positive on it, and then I thought about it. I was like, no, but how long has it taken me to get here?
I will say this one was really mixed as well.
Yeah, it is
4 and 5s from big outlets, so I feel like it was felt by others.
Maybe they just kind of didn't get out that rut and kind of find the game's mojo in the way you did.
And
James.
I don't blame people for doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I see a lot of people dunking on IGN for giving it a 5, but I don't blame people for not getting out of that. Like
Yeah.
I admit I'm a much more patient player than a lot of people. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, look at me. I'm just saying like I can put up with a lot of like jank and shit like to get somewhere good, right? Like
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't.
Again,
also, this is
all
like
subjective.
Nintendo's holiday game. Like, it's not as if it's some random first timer. Like, I know it's not an everyday.
I think their
studio for
holiday
them,
game
but-
is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Well,
yeah,
like, which is Mario Party
seller
Jam.
every year.
Mario Party Jamboree, I think, is their big game.
You
this
know what
year.
I mean, though. Like, it's
like
it's a Mario game from the
Zelda
Nintendo.
as well might carry a bit of weight as
I
well.
mean, it's filling their November slot where Pokemon normally would, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Interesting. Shannon, do you see yourself playing the game? Do you anticipate you'll find the time?
I was keen on it because like the art style is really interesting. It is beautiful, and it's been a decade since Mario and Luigi, and I feel like these were some of my first like RPGs I played kind of alone. But yeah, James and I spoke quite a bit throughout him playing it, and he did seem to be struggling. And if like it wasn't holding his attention, I feel like I've got no hope. So,
Yeah, I was going to say
I'll-
that does worry me a little
I'll
bit.
check it out. Maybe my
It's
expectations
also-
are lower now, so I'll be loving it.
Such
Yeah.
a pretty game. Like you mentioned, the art style. It is a very good looking game. I can't help but wonder maybe this is one you might wait for Switch 2 to play if there is some kind of up-resing backwards compatibility dealio going on. So, yeah.
We've spoken about a couple of divisive games there. I'm eager to talk about another one because despite the negative commentary circulating around the game, Dragon Age the Veilguard has knocked Black Ops 6 off the top spot in Steam's bestsellers chart, reaching a peak of 70,414 concurrent players within its first 24 hours on sale. Putting that in context, that makes it BioWare's best launch on the platform ever. So certainly nothing to scoff at. Shannon, does the success of the game surprise you in any way?
Yes and no. I feel like, yeah, there was a lot of negativity, especially like from what I saw, because we gave it a 10. Like, I feel like it was very overwhelmingly negative. But I feel like anyone that's played it, I've mostly seen positive stuff. Like, people have said it's not a 10 for me, but like it is solid and it's an 8 or a 9. Like, I haven't seen too much genuine hate, like in terms of people playing it and not liking it.
Yeah.
So I feel like the word of mouth, I know people are going to be how they are online, but I feel like if you're talking to a friend genuinely or just like, yeah, talking to others about games, like you're going to say good things. And I feel like most people can see through what is happening online. So it doesn't surprise me. It is a big name. Yeah.
I do feel like the criticism of the game online was largely a vocal minority that were
100%.
taking issue with the game for reasons entirely
And like such a
separate
minor
to the
part,
quality
like the
of game.
same 1 or 2 scenes over and over again. That's
like,
it.
Yeah, like 4 minutes in an 80-hour game.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't surprise me because the game is really good, and I'm excited. I'm happy that it is speaking for itself in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I encourage anyone who's like on the fence to give it a shot. Like it is very good. I really enjoyed it.
I
and
played it maybe an hour before, and like it
Nice.
surprised me how quickly it's kind of gets going combat wise. And yeah,
very
Very
linear at the
polished.
beginning, but still very polished and very well paced overall.
Yeah.
Really good game.
I'm yet to get to it, but I can't wait. I feel like I've said it before, but I'm like really in the mood for like a
think you'll love
fantasy
it.
RPG at the moment. I've been playing a little bit of New World Eternum, like seeing as that game has made the jump to consoles. James is looking at me like, why are you wasting your time with these games?
Yeah.
I have friends that want to play games, James. I just like, I comment like,
I have
join
friends
them.
too, but they know better.
And to be like, New World is not the quality that I imagine Dragon Age is by any stretch of the imagination. But playing that, going hands-on with Avowed like earlier this year too, like has kind of got me like really excited for Dragon Age, and then Avowed and Fable when that materializes as well. So yeah, eager to jump into Dragon Age and play a bit of that. That leads me to our rapid fire question of today though. Ghostface is coming to Mortal Kombat 2. So my rapid fire question
Mortal
for you
Kombat 1.
both is, do we predict Shannon will finally jump in? Is this enough to get Shannon across the line? I want to say yes. James?
No. I know.
Shannon, what's it going to be?
I'll give it a go. I don't know if I'm gonna become James doing my dailies, but I'll try it.
I've fallen off a bit actually. Like, yeah, it's very shameful.
I reckon if he jumps on to kind of give it one red hot go with Ghostface, that's a win in my book.
I think Shannon will like if it was like Ghostface is coming to Virtua Tennis 3 for PS Vita.
I'd like that.
Imagine that.
A lot.
All right, now it's time for What the Wiki, the Press Start podcast game show, where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with the round concluding after someone's bagged themselves 2 points. As last week's winner, James is in the hosting chair today. He's currently in first place on 38 points. I'm in second, 6 points behind with 32. Shannon in third on 30 points, just 2 behind me. Brody's in fourth on 23. Kieran's in fifth on 10. And Harry bringing up the rear on 5 points. But yeah, James, as last week's winner, you are in the hosting chair today. Have you prepared something fun like Brody did last week?
No. I should have done that. I knew I was forgetting to do something. Mine's hell boring, but I think it'll be a quick round.
You're
Quick
just
round's a good round, as they say.
The tradition of the game. It's fine.
I just had to pick really, really like. Anyway,
basic stuff. Shannon, no, is that what you're saying?
No, Shannon's alright. I think it's just you, and you're so hard to pick.
Brutal.
Yeah, when you've played like 4 games, it's hard.
Look, I'm currently ahead of Shannon right now, so I don't know where the slander is coming from.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. Shannon, you're muted. Don't handicap yourself.
I know. I'm all good.
We won't hear you. Okay. Let's go. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The game's combat system was greatly refined over previous entries in the series, with fencing being used as an inspiration for this new system. I love how deep in thought you both look.
Well, you've set it up so brutally now.
The stealth system also saw several improvements, with the addition of features like manual crouching, very dynamic, and a blade which doubles as a crossbow. Furthermore,
Shannon, no.
Yes, Shannon.
No.
That's not the answer.
No.
Do you want to...
Ewan. I'm
Ewan.
Ewan. Are you tapping out, Shannon?
Oh my god, hurry up. I feel sick.
Yeah,
the tension.
no. I don't know.
Ewan, is this Assassin's Creed 2?
It's not Assassin's Creed 2. Furthermore, the linear assassination missions from previous games were abandoned in favour of a new black box design, which offers more freedom to the player in how they go about eliminating their target. Yes, Shannon.
Assassin's Creed Liberation.
No.
Ewan.
Yes, Ewan.
Is this Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag?
No. The plot is set in a fictional history of reward events and follows the millennia-old struggle between assassins, who preserve the peace, blah, 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 and Templars, blah, blah, blah. The framing story is set in the 21st century and features an unidentified protagonist who joins the assassins. The main story is set in... Paris.
Ewan.
Shannon.
Ewan.
Is it Assassin's Creed Unity?
It is Assassin's Creed Unity. Congratulations. Sorry, Shannon.
I wasn't going to get it.
You might... Oh, what were you going to say?
I was going to say 3.
Assassin's Creed Eiffel or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Parry.
Okay.
Is it manual? Was manual crouching not introduced until Assassin's Creed Unity? Did I hear
Assassin's
that correct?
Creed Patty. Yeah, so when you went into bushes, you would crouch into them, right? But you couldn't actually... Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Next gen features.
Yeah,
Ewan.
wild.
Okay. Here we go. This game packages together 6 games. Each game features their campaign, multiplayer maps, and game modes, and in addition to including additional content that was added in further updates. No story or gameplay changes were made to the original releases. The games are first-person shooters with vehicular combat that takes place from a third-person perspective. Each campaign has 4 difficulty levels and access to modifiers known as skulls.
Oh, Ewan.
The game...
Oh.
Shannon, what are you doing?
I don't.
No, I think I've
I
got
don't
this
know.
wrong.
Go, Ewan.
You said 6 games, didn't you? I was going to say Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Is that right? Do they have 6 games in it?
Yeah, it does now. So that's what the... Yeah. So
That
Let's
is
go.
what I thought as well, but I can't even think of 6 Halo games.
That's a clean sweep, baby.
Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, 4, Reach, and that's it.
Is it
of
shit
course.
games that you gave a 10? Is that the theme?
It's not Shani, but thanks for being so supportive. For what it's worth, no one can find that 10 online anymore. It's gone. Also another outlet, my previous days. Nah, those games turned 10 this week. 10 years old this week.
Close.
Yeah, so...
Wait, hang on. The Master Chief Collection turned 10.
It's 10 years old. Yeah.
Fucking hell, that feels like
Is
it
it
came out
working yet?
yesterday. It's-
I don't know. You'd have to ask Halo Studios, as they call it.
Well, just a little quick recap on the scoring there. Given
I love
that
how
was a
he
clean
recaps when
sweep-
he wins.
Wow.
It's like just so everyone remembers.
The new score or the old score?
That's the new score.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's moved me within 3
Huge.
points of James now.
Massive.
With that, though, let's bring an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au and visit the site at press.com.au. We've been joined today by Shannon.
Yeah, you can follow me at Shannon Grixty and go read the PS5 Pro review.
And also joining us today, doing a marvelous job hosting What the Wiki, it was James.
Yes, you can find me at Jams, ATJMZ on X.
And I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough. Thanks again for tuning in. And until next time, happy gaming.
Howdy.
Bye.
Howdy.